Terrorism is a form of warfare that cannot be fought in one typical manner. It is a hard war to fight, however, it is the most important war to fight as it affects not just one country but the entire globe. The terrorists we are discussing today come from the Middle East, and they are part of a radical set of Muslims known as the Shia, who are highly skilled. This type of war is difficult to fight because of the fact that the terrorists do not wear uniforms and they don't have a specific target or location.
George W. Bush states his address to Congress post 9/11. Al-Qaeda is to terror what the mafia is to crime. But its goal is to not make money. Its goal is remaking the world, imposing its radical beliefs on people everywhere. The terrorists that were responsible for the attacks on September 11, 2001 were a group known as Al-Qaeda. Terrorism is not a war against one specific country. These terrorists have a hatred for the entire Western world and are targeting large amounts of people, including women and children. They will not stop till everyone follows their way of life. Al-Qaeda was one of the major supporters in the Taliban during this time, and they were all working together in order to pull off the attacks that occurred on September 11, 2001, when the planes were hijacked. After these attacks, that were all in time for enlistment rates within all the branches, the war campaign was on a rise and America was out for blood. This created an increased nationalist attitude, but unfortunately, that support has decreased majorly over time.
In the past 15 years, there has been a major decrease in support of American people against the war on terrorism. At first, this rate was insanely high. Everyone wanted to go into the Middle East and they wanted to kill the terrorism that had taken so many lives from the US. But then, over the past 15 years, due to the new socialist ideals, there had been a major decrease. There's a poll that actually states that 76 Americans do not want any type of troops on the ground, and 65% of those people don't believe that we should even have special ops go in there. That's wrong, and it's unfair to realize the fact that terrorism needs to be assessed at the source. There's an article by Forbes known as Killing ISIS: 5 Reasons Why American Boots on the Ground Will Backfire. There are main 5 reasons why people believe that there should not be any ground troops within the Middle East whatsoever. 1, it gives terrorists an easier target. It allows terrorists, since we are uniformed, it allows terrorists to see which guys are the military and which ones are not, so they realize who they're trying to kill. The second, it provides opportunity for kidnaps and captives, which could change U.S. policy, such as when Obama released 5 Guantanamo Bay prisoners in order to get a deserter back from the U.S. military. 3, it will take pressure off local militias, which shouldn't happen. The local militias should be able to fight off forces, and the U.S. needs to give them those options to fight off the forces without basically taking all the pressure off of them. 4, it will lead to taking sides in a civil war. Since ISIS is technically not the #1 enemy against America, it's also very despicable to try to fight off one terrorist group while we know that another. That's actually number 5. There will be another terrorist group that will just increase their prominence the second that America leaves. Look at Iraq. There's a reason why as soon as we left that a new terrorist group known as the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria came into power. This is all showing that there needs to be at least a ground force and a prominence to fight the war on terrorism, and we cannot ignore this.
Earlier, Al-Qaeda was described. Al-Qaeda is the original group of terrorists present in the 21st century, and it led to the rise of ISIS. ISIS developed from a group of Muslims that were originally part of Al-Qaeda. It may seem obvious, but it is important to understand why they have to be stopped, because so many people know of them, but not as many people know all of the details about them and about their motives and the effects of these, and to the extent that they're destroying the world. Their basic principle and belief is to reject peace and accept genocide, which they are able to conduct successfully due to the fact that the terrorists group is the first that is unidentifiable in the whole history of terrorism, that you could walk past one of them in the street and you would not know that you were walking past them. They will not change their actions because they stem from their personal beliefs in the Islamic religion, which is rooted in their hearts. And even if it means their own survival, as they believe that they are the sign of the end of the world. Some statistics show how bad the extent of their terrorism is. For example, 13,000 miles are under Islamic State control. And another fact is the estimated value of ISIS is approximated to be over 2 billion. No more practicing Christians even exist today in the city of Mosul, and this is because ISIS acts as a tyrannical extremist theocracy, and they believe that no other religion besides Islam should exist in the world. In just 90 attacks in 21 different countries, they killed 1,400 civilians. And the estimated number of civilians that could die if they stopped the Mosul Dam from functioning is 500,000. And people have calculated these estimations because they're in dreadful anticipation of their next attack because no one knows when they're going to strike. And lastly, it is believed that ISIS is holding 3,500 people hostage, which includes women and children. They promote their goal to instill fear in the world by taking advantage of the prevalence of technology in modern day life. For example, they have sent and publicized throwing a hostage off a cliff to fall to his death. These modern tools promote religious fundamentalism or extremity. They also do this to keep countries under their control. This was shown by threatening to kill an American soldier under Barack Obama's presidency so that America would release 6 captured and wanted members of ISIS, which happened. This trade-off that conceivably did more harm than good is an example of how they use modern technology to keep so many countries at their mercy and in great fear of them. Furthermore, it is evident that these despicable actions and acts of terror need to be halted.
While there are many problems in the Middle East due to the fact that terrorism is a main prominent issue within the entire world today, there are many solutions that can actually solve this issue. There have been many attempts of destroying terrorism throughout history, but there have been many successes, such as killing Osama bin Laden. If we storm the Middle East with U.S. troops and with other countries' troops, there's no place where these terrorists can hide. If we don't allow refugees from these countries, such as the Syrian refugees or any other type of refugees, and they are fully screened, then they should be allowed in the country. We do not believe that they should be able to enter the country freely and given the same benefits that any other American citizen is given. Also, the fact that we need to storm the Middle East in order to capture the terrorists, give them proper interrogations without being scared of their rights, which at that point I don't think that terrorists should have rights. But in order to train local militias, in order to educate the people on what's actually happening, because ISIS and other terrorist sects such as the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, they had used fear to strike into the people that the Western world is evil and that we wanted to take away their way of life. The difference between us and the terrorists are that we do not try to implement and force our way of life down others' throats. In order to educate these people, it will allow them to learn how to better maintain their country so that the U.S. doesn't have to. And we should not give that country or those people the power to maintain that country until they are properly done so. Otherwise, a new terrorist sect will emerge, and then we will have a whole new war on terrorism, and this time we might not be so lucky. Thank you.